guys, I am just here quick today to go over our kindergarten year and do a little bit of an end of the year review of our kindergarten curriculum for homeschool this year. So I had both of my daughters doing kindergarten this year. One of them is technically in kindergarten on paper, and one of them will be actually technically in kindergarten in the fall, but she was more than ready, so we just went ahead and did kindergarten for both of them this year. So I was schooling two girls, and we had a really great year. It was fun. The girls learned a ton, and I think it was a really good kind of trial run to get a year under our belts and just see what worked and what didn't work, and we are ready to jump into first grade. So I am going to just go over all the curriculum that we used and kind of what we thought of it, and I'll do a separate video or blog post on what we're using for next year. So our main focus this year was language arts. I really wanted to have the girls be strong readers and learning to write and all of that stuff. And one of the biggest things that I was looking for in a language arts curriculum was an all-encompassing curriculum. I didn't want a separate curriculum for reading, for writing, for spelling, for grammar, all of those different things. I just wanted one that would cover everything. And I was able to find it, and that was a huge draw for me in the curriculum that I did choose. And I just liked this curriculum a lot. It was very hands-on. It wasn't super repetitive. I mean, there were things that were the same type of activity throughout the year. Like, obviously learning how to write letters, you're gonna kind of learn how to write them the same way, but there was tons of stuff that wasn't just in the book. Activities like they would do different kinds of bingo and go fish and slapjack with different letters and all kinds of things like that wasn't just sitting down and doing a workbook. So I really liked that, and that made it really fun and didn't feel like we were doing the same thing every single day. So the curriculum that we chose this year is called The Logic of English, and we did foundations. And in foundations, it's for 4 through 7-year-olds, and then they have something above that that's for, I think, 8 up to adult, like ESL students, just older kids that might be struggling to read, and it covers the same stuff, but I think in a little bit of a different way, if I understand that correctly. So this is for 4 through 7-year-olds, and there are 4 levels, A, B, C, and D, and so we covered levels A and B this year. And basically it just goes, like I said, it goes over all of those different things. So in a daily lesson, you'll have some type of phonogram practice where you're either writing or just learning a new phonogram, maybe like what it says. And my girls, one thing I loved about this curriculum is they weren't just learning like A says ah, B says but. It was A says a, and ah, and then teaching them how to use, like when do you use ah, when do you use a, when do you use ah, so that they can kind of decode words a lot better. And I really liked that because it eliminated a lot of confusion in terms of knowing when to use like letters that say more than one sound. So they learned all the way up, obviously all the 26 letters and what they say, but then they also learned some 2, 3, and even 4 letter phonograms and what they say. So that's been very helpful with learning to read. And then they do handwriting, which at the beginning was just learning how to write different strokes, and then it went into teaching all of the lowercase letters and then all of the uppercase letters, and then by the end they were just really like copying sentences for handwriting. So they got a long way with their writing this year. There's usually some type of phonemic awareness. I might teach something or do a game or something like that. And then there was spelling every day. And let's see. And then of course reading. So it really just covered the whole spectrum, and I really liked that a lot. And like I said, in the workbook there was a lot of fun activities. It wasn't just like copy work or anything like that. There was all kinds of fun stuff, matching and games that were outside of the workbook, and they just really learned a lot. So I would say that my only real complaint about this curriculum is that I think the main focus of it is to teach the logic of English, like it's titled, because English can be such a confusing language for so many people. And I think so often, even as adults, it's like, well, I don't know why it's spelled that way, it just is. But there is a reason why everything is spelled the way it's spelled or pronounced the way it's pronounced, things like that. And this curriculum really goes in depth with teaching that. So with that, it goes in depth with teaching all of these different rules. And in the beginning, that was fine. They would learn, simple rules. But as time went on, it was like they were learning more and more and more rules, and it just got a little bit confusing for a 5 and 6-year-old. They could maybe memorize the rules, but then it was like kind of slowing them down as they were reading, because it's like they had to really stop and think about okay, do I need to use this rule or this rule when it comes to this vowel, or different things like that. So it just got a little bit complicated, I guess I would say, for a 5 and a 6-year-old. That being said, I would still totally recommend the curriculum. It was great. My girls are, I feel like, really on track to becoming strong readers, both of them, and I'm very thankful for that. And overall, it's like a very easy to follow curriculum. It's pretty open and go. There's not a lot of prep or anything like that. So I do overall highly recommend the curriculum. We liked it a lot. We are going to be switching to something else next year, not because we didn't like this, just because we're kind of ready to mix it up, and there was a couple of other things I'm looking for in a curriculum. So I was able to find something that we were kind of looking for, and we will be using that next year instead. So I'll stay tuned and I'll share at some point what that is. For math, I did a ton of research last year on what we wanted to use for math, and I ended up deciding on Math UC Primer. And we did not like it at all. After all the research I did, I thought, like, for sure this is going to be a great fit for us, and it just wasn't. I've thought a lot about why it didn't work for us, and I don't really have a super good explanation. It just wasn't a good fit. The way that they explain things and the order in which they teach things is just kind of confusing, and at least for my kids it was. And so it just got to the point where math was like a huge struggle every day. They didn't want to do math. My oldest especially was just frustrated. She didn't want to do it. She didn't get it, and it was just hard. So I kind of set that aside back in like February and kind of came up with my own activities. We were like learning to tell time and different things like that. And I was researching again for first grade, like, okay, what are we gonna do? I don't really want to go back to Math UC because it was just such a struggle. So what are we gonna use instead? And I feel like when you're in the homeschool world, it's like, you see the same curriculums over and over and over again for the most part. And so I heard about this curriculum, and I had never heard of it before, and so I was like, okay, I gotta look into this a little bit more. So the curriculum is Math Lessons for a Living Education, and I was looking into it, and I was looking at levels 1 and 2, because this is level 1, and it says that it's recommended for grade 1, suitable for ages 5 to 7. So I'm looking at this for first grade, but as I'm looking at it, the first little bit was very simple. Like the first week was just learning the numbers 0 through 9, which for me that doesn't seem like first grade. Maybe it is, I guess. I don't know. And then after that it was like learning, introducing rectangles, stuff like that. My kids are way past that. But looking at level 2, or at the end of level 1, there was things like introducing fractions. Well, my kids weren't there yet, so I didn't feel like we could skip level 1. But I was really liking what I saw from the curriculum, so I'm kind of like, hey, why don't I just get the books? They're only like $25 on Amazon, which is crazy good for curriculum if you know how much math curriculum costs. So I was like, okay, well, why don't I just go ahead and order level 1 for this year, and we'll just kind of try it out and see if we like it for this year, the rest of this year, since we only have a couple months left. And if we don't, no big deal. Like, I'm not out that much money or anything. And if we do, then I can order level 2 for next year. So we ended up ordering it, and we just finished the book up today, actually, and I skipped over some stuff that they had like completely mastered. We just kind of cruised through it and skipped over it, over certain parts, but for the most part we did most of the book in like 2 months. So obviously that's not how it's laid out to be. That's just what we did since we had already learned a lot of it, and we loved it. It's such a cool curriculum. I had never seen a math curriculum like this before. So what it does, it's supposed to be like Charlotte Mason inspired is what they say. And so it follows these 2 twin kiddos, and every week there's a story about these kids, and the story introduces a new concept. So they're really learning it through a story, which I think just made so much sense to my kids. They were on a farm with their grandparents, so a lot of it had to do with either food or animals, and it just made a lot of sense to my kids. And so there'll be a story that you just read to them, and then every week there's 5 exercises, which is supposed to be 1 for each day. And so this is exercise 1, which really is more than one like activity in a day, but it's usually either 1 or 2 pages. So it's really not a ton. And that's why we were able to get through it so quickly, is because we would do sometimes the whole week's worth in a day. Next year we are going to use it again. And next year obviously we'll go a lot slower. We school 4 days a week, so we'll split the 5 exercises up into our 4-day weeks. So we'll go a lot more at pace, but they'll be learning all new things next year. So we did slow down a little bit as we got to the back where they were learning new things, stuff they hadn't learned. We slowed down a little bit. But overall, we really didn't have any issues with it. It seemed everything made sense, and I felt like it gave me more freedom. I know as a homeschooling parent, you can do whatever you want to do. I could have gone off the book with Matthew C. and taught whatever I wanted to, but I was trying to like stick with the way that they were teaching things just to be like uniform and have it make sense. And with this book, I felt like it just gave me a lot more freedom to like, if something, the way that they explained it didn't make sense to my kid, I could just say, okay, let's look at it this way instead. And I don't know why, it just felt like it had a lot more freedom in that area. And so it ended up working out great. And it comes with like different kind of like ideas for manipulatives, and there's like these houses that you cut out in the back that teach place value, which made a lot of sense. It was very hands-on then because they were counting things to put them in the houses to make place value, and that just made a lot of sense to my kids. So it's not really just sitting and doing bookwork either. There's a lot of different components to it, which my kids really enjoyed as well. So highly recommend that curriculum if you haven't heard of it. I don't know if it's new or if it's just not that popular, but I had never heard of it. So moving on to our Bible, we used Bible Study Guide for all ages this year, and we did the 3 through K level. And we went through 3 of these books. Each one has 26 lessons in it, and we could have gotten through one more, but it was kind of like I didn't have it because I only ordered one to start to see if we liked it, and then I ordered 2 more. And so we just I didn't have one, so we kind of stopped earlier than we would have. So we probably could have gotten through 4 of these, which I think makes up a unit. So we really liked this curriculum a lot. I felt like it was very biblically sound, like it taught things actually from the Bible. It didn't really sugarcoat stories. It was kid appropriate for their age level, but it didn't leave out, certain aspects of a story just to make it nice or whatever, which I don't like when Bibles or kids' Bibles do that, because I want my kids to know the truth. So basically what it is every day there are like a few different components. There's a sing and remember section. We didn't order the CD. I guess there's a CD that goes with it that teaches different songs. We didn't do that, but like they had them memorizing the books of the New Testament, so we did that, and then it would just ask questions. So when we got 45 lessons in, it would still be asking questions from the first few lessons randomly. It would just kind of throw them in, and I think that really helped my girls retain a lot of information, because months later it was like all of a sudden a question would come up from a previous story and they would still remember it. So I really appreciated that. I could see they were really, really retaining the information, not just memorizing the story, but like application too, which was nice. So there's a get active section. Some days we did this, some days we didn't. Sometimes it was more geared like toward a classroom of kids, and so we just skipped over it, or sometimes if we were short on time, we just skipped it, and that was fine. But it's just fun little activities. And then you flip to the back, and there's no teacher's manual. You just teach right from here. So that was kind of nice too. It makes it very inexpensive. Each one of these, I want to say, is like $5.95 or something, really inexpensive. So, and then there's like, a different number of boxes every day, but on this one there's 5 boxes. So the kids just, follow along. So I would read what it says for number 1, and then my kids would follow along. So like here it said, Jacob was a man who loved God, with blue color Jacob. So it's interactive the whole time. They're doing something to follow along with the story. And I think that's why they really retained so much information, is because they're doing stuff with the pictures. So I think they're remembering it a lot better. And then you flip back to the front page and you apply it, which there's a Bible verse that goes along with it that I would read straight from the Bible. And then there's a picture over here, and there's questions that go along with this picture, like what did Grace give Samantha? Did she give any to Kenneth? How does that make him feel? Those kinds of things, which I think really helped my girls to apply the Bible to their actual life, because it's stuff that happens in real life. That happens with kids. Kids get left out, And so that was really good. And of course my kids loved the little pictures. We would do our read aloud right after Bible time. And then, it also gives you like a little prayer prompt at the bottom too, which we would usually do. And that was just good practice for my kids learning how to pray. And so after we would pray, we would do our read aloud, and my girls would color this while they were listening to read aloud, and that was like their favorite part of every day. So we enjoyed that a lot. It was good curriculum. I didn't find anything like questionable in terms of the actual like Bible teaching at all. So that was nice. Like I said, we finished that up a little bit early, and so I don't have it over here. So I just did like Bible journaling. I got a little like tote with different like glitter markers and stickers and Post-its and stamps and all this different stuff, and kind of just, we have these, this one is mine, I just had one for like example for the girls, but just like these kind of sketchbooks. They were really cheap at Walmart, and they would just do stuff like this, use their stickers or Post-its or whatever. And I really didn't regulate it at all. It was just kind of like anything that has to do with God or the Bible, go for it. You know, it can be, sometimes we'd read a Bible story before and they could do something along with that, or just something that was on their heart, or write out a prayer, write some verses from a song, whatever they wanted to do. And they really enjoyed kind of that creative outlet in terms of the Bible. So I'm thinking we'll probably keep doing that, like maybe once or twice a week next year, just for something fun. And then the last thing that we did this year was we did an ocean unit, which was really fun. We mostly focused on ocean animals, but we learned about like the ocean zones and the different oceans and things like that. But we mostly like picked a sea animal every week, and we would just kind of study it that week. So we would sometimes look up YouTube videos, sometimes we would read books about them. Like Usborne books are great. We had a bunch of those with different sea animals, so we would sometimes just spread those out on the floor and like look for, okay, let's look for any page we can find about a whale and read facts about them. And sometimes we would like make a chart. The girls made like little books sometimes about all the different facts about a certain animal, and they would illustrate them. Just all kinds of different stuff. So that was really fun. It was very casual. Like if we didn't have time for it, that was okay, but it was just really fun to kind of hone in on some interests and do more of like a unit study. So that was really fun. Right now I don't have anything like that planned for next year, but I'm thinking we might have to figure something out just because it was so much fun. And then last week we went on vacation, well, I guess almost 2 weeks ago now, and we ended up we were driving to South Carolina, so we stopped in Atlanta for a night, and we went to the Big Georgia Aquarium, which I think is one of the biggest in the world, if not, yeah, I think it's one of the biggest aquariums in the world. So that was really cool, because then they could go and see all these animals that they had learned about, and it just like really made it very tangible for them. So that was like kind of a cool way to wrap up our ocean unit for this year. So that's pretty much our kindergarten year in a nutshell, and everything that we did. So I will be back sometime, hopefully soon, whenever I get in all of my curriculum for next year, to share what we're going to be doing for first grade. So thanks for watching.